again here, and today in this Ducking the Fog series I'm going to take you for a little walk around the shop. And as you've seen before, here's the swing arm for the welder and the workbench, cluttered. Our wonderful cutoff saw, and here's our wire feed welder, some off the wall brand, who knows where it came from, made in Germany, but no real specific brand. Then our plasma cutting table, made in the GDR, woohoo! And then our plasma cutter, and then our antique old stick welder in the background over there. And then my pride and joy, Bridget the Bridgeport. This is my machine that I picked up last fall and restored back to working order, although there really wasn't much wrong with it. And here are the tools that go along with it. The green vise on the left. I call it the frog vise, not because it was made in France, but because it kind of looks like a frog. When you look at this dude, it looks like a frog sitting on its butt with its mouth up. So when we open the jaws up, as you can see, it looks like it's about to gulp a big bug. This is an awesome vise. I love this thing for clamping stuff for round stock, pipes and that kind of thing. Works really great. And here's my my dividing head. I don't know what brand it is. I suspect it's a Walter, but there again, no nomenclature plate on it. Hard to say what it is and who built it. There's in the middle the Albrecht chuck with an R8, cutters, fasteners. I've got some other goodies down there in these boxes that I can't get to right now. One is a measuring cylinder, parallels that I made myself, and underneath that a measuring and lapping plate. And on the mill right now is the Schmidt boring and planing head, and here's the box to it. This has been a pretty good investment. This company, the company that made it is Schmidt and Esslingen, and I recently purchased this thing on eBay for 250 bucks, and it came with an SK40 mount, or Cat 40 mount, and so I sent it back to the factory to have it retrofitted with an R8 mount, and they were really fantastic to work with. They cut me a really good deal on it. It cost me a little over 200 bucks to have the new R8 mount put on it. They took the old spindle in on payment as it was still in pretty good shape, so I can only praise the efforts of Schmidt and Esslingen. Excellent outfit. And here's our funky surface grinder. I'm not sure who made this thing, if this ABBA work in Aschaffenburg made it, or if they were just the seller, or if Delisle and Ziegler, if they in Stuttgart were the sellers, or who made it. I'm thinking that ABA down there is probably a good indicator that it was made in Aschaffenburg. And here's our cut and torch outfit. This thing is a from Rona, RHO with two umlauts on it, NA, and it is a piece of shit. It pops, it hisses, it spits, and it blows your puddle all over the place when you're cutting, when you're welding. I hate it. It is junk. I want my Victor. And here is our wore out, beat up Behringer lathe. And believe it or not, as bad as these ways are, this machine actually still puts out a pretty decent cut. Hard to believe, but true. I actually was able to get the measuring cylinder that I made done on this thing, and actually it is right on the money. Unfortunately, I can't get the 4-jaw chuck on this thing because the 3-jaw chuck here is somehow seized on here. It has these funky little screw mounts here. You take them out and try to rotate this in the direction of the normal cut, i.e. counterclockwise. The chuck still won't come off. It's spun on there so hard it probably won't ever come off. Unless, of course, by some miracle somebody walks in here and figures it out. I've had the chuck off the faceplate, but that's as far as it ever got. One of the things I made for this thing, for this chuck, is a spacer here so that you can put in work pieces in these jaws. Oops, got something in there already. But anyway, you stick this into the jaw, and it's a jaw spacer. I think you guys seen this kind of thing before. Some of you, it's nothing new. Made a little organized box here for the chuck key and other tools that are often needed. It got to be just too much of a jumble on top of the lathe, and everything was a big mess. Trying to keep things organized was a pain in the butt, so decided to do this, and yeah, get on there. And it's been pretty handy. On the other side here is the workbench for the lathe. Of course, I use this thing here to refill the coolant tank, which is down underneath the lathe there. You can see it behind that roller. And then different slots for the cutting tools, and all the projects still here on the bench. And of course, the different accessories that go along with it: live centers, dead centers, Morse taper adapters, chucks, and the whole bit. And then last but not least, we have our little cutoff shear here. It's, I don't know, could be a Chinese thing. Hard to say. It works pretty good. Works better than the Chinese one I had. Looks like Petting House is the name of the outfit that built it. But it's used for doing light gauge work. And then, oh, I almost forgot, our drill presses. The one on the left, the little one on the workbench, it didn't have a standard size, either like I think a B18 or whatever they call those tapers. The Europeans have some funky taper sizes, and so when I ordered the chuck, I ordered one with what looked like would fit, and when it got here, of course, it didn't fit, so I had to make it fit. So I had to build up some weld on the spindle, and then interestingly enough, the taper attachment on the lathe was already set up for that specific taper, and so all I had to do is just turn it down, and now this little drill press is back in working order. So it wasn't really much wrong with it other than just the proprietary spindle taper, and chucks weren't available from that manufacturer anymore, so we had to improvise. And then of course here our big fat other Dural press, and of course more workbench, back to the workbench. And that concludes today's, oh, here's another little project before I conclude this video. This is a angle plate that I've been making. As you can see, it's about 90% finished. It's going to get ground, and then on the back side here, it's probably going to get a little piece of pipe welded in, so that way, or maybe here on the front, so that way it still has a gap here, or I mean an angle where the work can overhang or do whatever, but then stabilize it so that when pressure comes on it laterally, that the thing doesn't vibrate too crazy. So with that, I suppose that is about all we have for today. And so, oops, I wear bifocal, so it's kind of hard to see sometimes on this thing. Anyway, that was the first episode of Duckin the Fog. Thanks for watching. Bye.